This is Bobby, who misses her boyfriend, KO, as they haven't been able to meet for a long time. Bobby expresses her desire to see KO, and they start messaging each other. Suddenly, KO surprises Bobby by secretly coming to meet her and proposes marriage. Bobby happily accepts the proposal, and later, they become intimate. In the next scene, Bobby is seen shopping for a wedding dress, and her friend asks if she is ready to spend her whole life with KO. Bobby affirms her readiness and explains that since KO entered her life, she has undergone a significant change. Her friend, who prefers having new experiences with different people, doesn't want to be tied down. Bobby advises her friend to consider marriage when she finds the right person. An elderly lady standing nearby overhears their conversation and reminisces about her time when marriages were agreed upon merely by seeing a boy's photo. It is revealed that in addition to being KO's girlfriend, Bobby is also his business partner, handling transactions on his behalf. On that day, KO has a court appearance, and Bobby accompanies him along with his assistant. While on the way to the court, Bobby notices a bike and fondly remembers her past experiences of riding one. At the court, Bobby arrives first, anxiously waiting for KO's arrival. Judge Marcos enters the court, catching Bobby's attention with his impressive appearance. When KO finally arrives, the hearing begins. KO's company, in partnership with another company called Gord, faces allegations of fraud. KO presents evidence to prove his company's innocence. After reviewing the evidence, Judge Marcos realizes that KO's company is not guilty of fraud and acquits them. KO expresses his joy by hugging Bobby, but Bobby's attention remains focused on Judge Marcos. She gestures towards the judge, expressing her gratitude. In the following scene, KO has to travel to another city for company work. He bids farewell to Bobby and departs. Bobby learns that her bachelor party will take place the next day and invites her assistant and best friend, Tiago, to join. However, Tiago declines the invitation. Determined to create new memories and leave the past behind, Bobby decides to sell her beloved bike. During the bachelor party, Bobby and her girlfriends enjoy a performance by a male stripper. They present gifts to Bobby, but one of the gifts contains pictures of KO with another woman, devastating Bobby. Overwhelmed, she locks herself in the bathroom, prompting her friends to become worried and call Tiago for assistance. Tiago arrives and comforts Bobby, convincing her to come out of the bathroom. Fueled by a desire for revenge, Bobby decides to visit KO's office to gather information about the other woman in the photos. However, they encounter a security guard at the entrance who refuses to let them in. They concoct a story about Bobby planning a surprise for her boss, claiming that she is going to marry him. They request permission to enter and set up the surprise, and the guard reluctantly agrees but insists on accompanying them. Bobby's friend distracts the guard by leading him in a separate room, allowing Bobby and Tiago to proceed without interference. While searching the office, Bobby discovers information about the other woman, revealing that KO had been in a 2-year relationship with her. She also realizes that the gifts KO used to give her were the same ones he gave to the other woman. Enraged by this revelation, Bobby starts breaking things in the office. Although the guard becomes suspicious of the noise, Bobby's friend manages to divert his attention. After a while, all 4 of them came out of their respective rooms. Then the guard asks them, "Did you hear the sound of something breaking?" But they all reply, "No." Later, after seeking revenge on KO, Bobby experiences a mix of emotions, including happiness and sadness. She feels satisfied for getting back at KO, but she is also deeply saddened by his actions. As time goes by, Bobby struggles to forget KO, and his memories continue to haunt her. In an attempt to cope with her emotions, she starts using drugs. One morning, Bobby's friend visits her and finds her heavily intoxicated. Concerned about Bobby's well-being, her friend decides to give her a makeover. The new look suits Bobby and motivates her to end her business partnership with KO. Bobby then goes to the court to retrieve a file she had forgotten there a few days ago. The judge, captivated by Bobby's appearance, develops romantic feelings for her. After encountering the judge, Bobby comes face to face with KO, who is still in love with her. However, Bobby remains determined not to engage with him any longer and asks him to leave. The judge steps in and mediates, finally persuading KO to depart. In the next scene, Bobby and Marcos are shown in a club drinking alcohol. They engage in conversation, and Bobby notices Marcos glancing at another girl. Intrigued, he decides to approach the girl, and so Bobby leaves the club. Later, Bobby shares her experience with her friend and expresses her approval of the idea of not committing her entire life to one person, but instead seeking new experiences and happiness with different partners. Upon returning home, Bobby discovers that the front door is open and her belongings are scattered, leaving her feeling nervous and frightened. She immediately contacts Tiago for assistance. Tiago arrives at her house, and Bobby recounts how the judge had saved her from criminals, expressing her admiration for him. Tiago warns Bobby about the dangerous nature of Judge Marcos. During their conversation, Tiago confesses his feelings for Bobby, but she clarifies that they are only good friends and their relationship will remain platonic. Upon hearing this, Tiago leaves. Determined to embrace life to the fullest, Bobby reverts to her old lifestyle and repurchases the bike she had sold during her bachelor party. The next day, Bobby joins a bikers club and all the bikers embark on a trip together. During the trip, Bobby notices that one of the bikers is Judge Marcos. Bobby and Marcos engage in sexual activities. Later, another biker approaches Bobby and warns her to stay away from Marcos, describing him as a peculiar individual. This information leaves Bobby feeling uneasy. In the following scene, while Bobby is on her way somewhere, she receives an email containing videos of her and Judge Marcos, where he expresses his desire to engage in sexual activities with her. This revelation heightens Bobby's suspicions about both KO and Tiago. Days pass, and Bobby manages to unlock KO's laptop, where she discovers evidence of KO's involvement in fraudulent activities. It is revealed that KO had orchestrated the court case against his own company using another company's name. Bobby's actions ultimately lead to her arrest, but despite having the opportunity for revenge, she decides not to pursue it due to her past feelings of love for KO. Meanwhile, Marcos sends an invitation for a date, which Bobby accepts. In the subsequent scene, Bobby frequently visits Marcos's house, enjoying their time together and engaging in sexual activities. Eventually, Bobby starts living with Marcos. One night, a woman named Paula visits Marcos's house, whom Bobby recognizes from the videos. Paula turns out to be Marcos's wife, and she behaves rudely towards Bobby. Learning that Marcos is married infuriates Bobby, and she leaves in anger on her bike. However, her enraged state leads to an accident. Bobby is admitted to the hospital, where she undergoes treatment and eventually recovers. After returning home, Marcos comes to apologize and explain his situation to Bobby, revealing that he has a 4-year-old daughter who suffers from a disease caused by Paula's negligence during pregnancy. Paula's drug use during pregnancy weakened their daughter's health, leading to their separation. Bobby starts feeling better after hearing Marcos's explanation. In the next scene, Marcos is busy investigating the person responsible for Bobby's accident. He instructs his assistant to keep an eye on people around Bobby. Meanwhile, KO appears in another scene, visibly beaten. It is revealed that Tiago, in collaboration with a gang, had orchestrated these attacks. Since Bobby stole KO's laptop, the gang had been searching for both KO and Tiago to get the money back. Bobby's relationship with Marcos prevented them from harming her. Tiago had warned Bobby to stay away from Marcos, but now their plan has failed, and they attempt to kill Bobby. Marcos overhears this information as he had been monitoring all of Bobby's friends. He tries to call Bobby, but she ignores his calls due to her anger. Bobby is with Tiago, planning to file a police complaint against KO when Tiago kidnaps her. Despite Marcos's continuous attempts to reach Bobby, she is unable to answer his calls out of fear of Tiago. When Tiago's attention is momentarily diverted, Bobby seizes the opportunity and answers Marcos's call, explaining her situation. Bobby's friend always has access to her live location through an app, so she contacts her friend and shares her location. Her friend starts heading towards Bobby's location. Tiago has taken Bobby to a dark forest. Upon witnessing this, it appears that Bobby will be killed. KO and Tiago are plotting Bobby's murder. Tiago instructs KO to shoot Bobby, but KO refuses. In a surprising turn of events, Tiago takes KO's gun and shoots him instead. Bobby is now the intended target. However, Marcos arrives at the scene and engages in a fight with Tiago. During the altercation, Tiago shoots Marcos, causing severe injuries. As Tiago is about to shoot Bobby, Marcos' assistant shoots Tiago from behind, putting an end to the threat. Bobby quickly approaches Marcos to check on his well-being. Unfortunately, Marcos is unharmed. Help arrives promptly, and Marcos is taken to the hospital. After a few days, Marcos makes a full recovery. Bobby and Marcos eventually get married, and Bobby also adopts Marcos' daughter, and the movie ends here. Thanks for watching this recap. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to comment below and tell me what movie you want me to recap next.